The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was so huge that a human could not see the ceiling. Golden lights floated in the air like tiny suns, and thousands of alien eyes stared down from high balconies. Some aliens had crystal skin, some had wings, some had long tails, and some looked like walking plants. All of them were silent. All of them were watching one man. Evan Reed, a human pilot, stood in the center of the hall with his hands chained behind his back. The metal cuffs glowed blue, showing that they were not ordinary chains, they could hold even the strongest alien warrior. Evan felt their cold grip on his wrists, but his mind was not on the chains. His mind was on the council judges sitting on the tall silver thrones in front of him. The chief counselor, a tall alien with silver skin and eyes like burning stars, stood up. His voice echoed through speakers and walls. "Human Evan Reed," he announced, "you are sentenced to death for the destruction of Station Arvon and the deaths of 240 innocent beings." A wave of whispers rolled through the hall. The aliens murmured, hissed, and clicked their tongues. Some pointed at Evan angrily. Others looked at him with curiosity, as if wondering what kind of creature a human truly was. Evan didn't move. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. He simply stared straight ahead and said in a calm voice, "I did not destroy the station." His words were swallowed by the huge hall. The council didn't care what he said. They didn't want to listen. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only joined interstellar travel 3 years ago, and many alien races still thought humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and too emotional. One mistake by a human could make the whole galaxy fear their arrival. And now the biggest disaster in the last decade had happened right next to Evan's ship. A station had exploded. Hundreds had died. And he was the only human nearby. To the council, that was enough. A large alien with red scales stood up. "There is clear evidence," he growled. "Your ship was seen leaving the station moments before the explosion." Evan lifted his chin. "I left because someone sent me a warning signal. A fake distress call. I was tricked." The red-scaled alien slammed his fist on the desk. "Lies. Humans always lie." More whispers. More anger. Evan felt the pressure of thousands of eyes pushing him down. He wanted to shout, to fight, to tell them that he was being framed. But he knew shouting would make him look guilty. So he stood still. Inside, though, his heart was beating fast. A cold female voice spoke next. "Evidence or not, the council has decided. The human is too dangerous to keep alive." A mechanical platform rose from the floor beside Evan. On top of it was a strange device, a ring of floating metal, humming with blue energy. It was an execution machine, quick, silent, and final. The chief counselor raised his hand. The hall fell completely silent. This was it. The galaxy had judged him. And they had judged him wrong. Evan closed his eyes for a moment. He didn't want to die, but he had accepted the truth, nothing could save him now. The chief counselor lowered his hand toward the execution control. The machine powered up. The blue light grew brighter. Evan felt the air around him warming as the energy gathered. Then, a voice cried out. A small, terrified voice that shook the entire hall. "Stop! You can't kill my husband." Every alien froze. The chief counselor's hands stopped mid-air. The execution machine powered down with a sharp hiss. And from the far left balcony, a tiny figure pushed through the crowd. It was a young alien, small, slim, with green skin that glowed softly and large silver eyes filled with fear and determination. Her hands shook, but she didn't care. She ran forward and climbed onto the railing so everyone could see her. Gasps echoed around the hall. A child? No, not a child. A young adult of her species. But still small. Still fragile. The chief counselor stared at her. "Who are you? Explain yourself." She pointed at Evan with a trembling finger. "My name is Lyra, and that human is my husband." The hall exploded with noise. Some aliens screamed. Some shouted. Some laughed. Humans bonding with aliens? Impossible. Illegal. Unheard of. Evan's eyes widened. He had never seen her in his life. What? He whispered. But Lyra wasn't lying. Her face showed real fear. Real pain. Real emotion. She looked at Evan like she truly knew him, like she would die for him. The council banged the gavel to silence the crowd. Explain yourself, the chief counselor demanded. A human and an Arali? A marriage bond? That cannot be. Lyra swallowed hard. It is true. He saved me. He saved my people. And our laws say that the one who saves your life becomes your life partner. The hall gasped again. Evan shook his head in confusion. He had no idea what she was talking about. But the girl's eyes, they were full of truth. And fear. And something else, desperation. The chief counselor turned toward Evan. Human. Do you acknowledge this bond? Evan hesitated. The whole galaxy waited for his answer. He looked at Lyra. She looked ready to break apart if he denied her. The council prepared the execution machine again. Evan took a deep breath. The story of his life was about to change. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The great hall was still shaking with whispers when Lyra's voice faded. Evan stood frozen, the blue chains glowing around his wrists, his mind trying to understand what had just happened. A young alien, someone he had never met, had just claimed to be his wife. The chief counselor slowly lowered himself back into his throne. His silver eyes locked onto Lyra with a mix of shock and anger. You, young Arali, step forward, he commanded. Lyra walked down the long stairs toward the center of the hall. Her small feet tapped softly on the polished floor, but the sound echoed like thunder. Every alien's gaze followed her. Evan watched her approach. She trembled with every step, yet she kept moving. Something inside Evan shifted. Whoever she was, she had courage. When Lyra reached him, she stood by his side, inches from the execution device. Evan could feel her glowing warmth. She lifted her chin bravely and faced the council. I will tell the truth, she said. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. Evan Reed is innocent. And he is my bonded partner. Gasps filled the hall again. The red-scaled counselor rose aggressively. This is impossible. Humans cannot form a bond with the Arali species. Their biology does not match. But Lyra shook her head. It is not biology. It is honor. A life bond is formed through sacrifice. Evan frowned. Lyra. I don't even know you. She turned to him, eyes shining with sadness. You saved my life, Evan. Years ago. You may not remember, but I will never forget. The crowd leaned forward. The air felt heavier. The chief counselor tapped his staff. Explain. All of it. Lyra took a deep breath. Lyra's revelation. 3 years ago, she began, my home Aralon V was attacked by pirate raiders. I was still a juvenile of my species. Our colony was burning. Everyone was fleeing. And the pirates were taking prisoners. Evan blinked. I was part of a rescue mission around that time. Lyra nodded quickly. Yes. You came. Your ship entered the burning atmosphere when no other ship dared. You crashed into the pirate gunship, disabling it. You carried us, children, elders, onto your ship. I was one of them. A memory flickered inside Evan, smoke, screams, dozens of scared alien children grabbing his arms. He remembered a tiny glowing girl holding his sleeve the whole time. His heart dropped. Lyra, that was you? Her eyes watered. Yes. In Arali culture, when someone saves your life at the risk of their own, you are bound to them. For life. For honor. That is our law. The council murmured again. Some looked embarrassed. Others looked furious. The chief counselor lifted a hand. Even if this is true, it does not change the charge. Evan Reed is guilty of destroying Station Arvon. Lyra stepped forward. No. He is not. And I can prove it. The hall exploded into shocked noise again. The council demands evidence. The female counselor with the cold voice leaned forward. Proof? A child brings proof against a galactic investigation? Lyra didn't flinch. Not a child. A bonded Arali. And I have seen something you all ignored. The chief counselor narrowed his eyes. Speak. Lyra extended her hand. A small hologram device floated out of her sleeve. It projected an image in the air. A blurry video appeared, security footage from Station Arvon. It showed a tall, shadowy figure walking into the reactor room minutes before the explosion. The figure was not human. It had horns and a long metallic arm, features of a warrior species known as the Draxel. Gasps echoed. The Draxel representative stood up angrily. That footage is fake. Lyra answered calmly. Then why was this file hidden inside the council database? Silence fell. Evan felt his heartbeat rise. Someone inside the council had hidden evidence, but why? The chief counselor ordered, bring this file to the main screen. The hall lights dimmed. A massive hologram screen lit up, showing the video clearly. The figure walked confidently. No sign of fear. This was not a human. The red-scaled counselor clenched his fists. This changes nothing. The human ship was still seen leaving the station. Lyra pointed again. Because someone sent him a fake distress call. It was a trap. He was lured away so the real saboteur could escape. Evan looked at her, stunned. She was right. The distress call he received had no source ID. He thought it was an error. But now, it made awful sense. The hall turns restless. The hall broke into chaos. Some aliens shouted in support of Evan. Others demanded Lyra be removed. Some accused the council of hiding the truth. Guards rushed forward to restore order. Evan felt chains pulling against his skin as he tried to turn toward Lyra. Why are you helping me? He whispered. Lyra looked up at him with sad eyes. Because you once saved my entire future. Today, I save yours. Before he could reply, something strange happened. The execution machine behind him suddenly powered on by itself. Blue energy shot upward in a violent surge. The control panel lit up with red warnings. Aliens screamed. Guards ran forward. The chief counselor shouted, "Who activated that? Shut it down!" A hidden voice crackled through the speakers. A deep, cold voice. The human must not escape. End him now. Everyone looked around wildly. Someone was controlling the execution device remotely. The machine began to spin, glowing hotter, angrier, louder. Lyra screamed and grabbed Evan's arm. Guards tried to pull her back. Evan braced himself as the energy ring grew brighter, threatening to explode. High above, in the dark balcony, a lone figure stepped out of the shadows. A tall alien with horns. A metallic arm gleaming. The same figure from the security footage. He looked down at Evan with eyes full of hatred and whispered, "You will not survive this, human." And then, the execution machine erupted with a blinding flash. A blinding flash swallowed the center of the Great Hall. The execution machine sparked violently, sending waves of blue light across the floor. Aliens screamed and covered their faces. Guards were thrown backward by the force. When the light faded, a cloud of smoke filled the room. The hum of electricity echoed through the air. For a moment, everyone thought Evan was gone. But when the smoke drifted away, Evan was still standing. His chains had melted off. Pieces of glowing metal lay at his feet. The explosion hadn't killed him, it had freed him. Lyra, coughing from the smoke, grabbed his arm.
Evan, are you okay? He nodded slowly. I'm fine, but that blast wasn't meant to kill me.
It was meant to silence us. The crowd backed away as Evan stepped forward. The tall horned figure on the balcony, the same figure from the video, jumped down with a metallic thud. His one mechanical arm glowed bright red.
The Draxel saboteur.
He pointed a finger at Evan.
Human. Stay where you are. Evan's instincts kicked in.
He gently pushed Lyra behind him.
Why did you destroy the station? Evan asked. Why frame humans?
The Draxel stepped closer, eyes full of cold anger.
Humans are weak. Soft. Emotional.
But they spread fast.
Too fast.
Your species threatens the balance of power.
So we decided to remove you before you grow. Gasps rose from the balconies. Even council members looked shocked.
A Draxel warrior admitting such a plan was dangerous, and stupidly bold.
Evan clenched his fists. So you killed hundreds to start a war against my people.
The Draxel smiled cruelly.
War creates fear. Fear makes others obey.
The galaxy will follow the stronger race. He raised his mechanical arm, ready to fire.
But Lyra stepped out from behind Evan.
Your fear does not make you strong, she whispered.
Your lies do not make you powerful.
The Draxel fired.
A beam of red-hot energy shot across the floor.
Evan moved faster than he ever had in his life. He grabbed Lyra, pulled her to the side, and rolled behind a stone pillar.
The beam hit the floor, exploding into sparks.
The hall erupted into chaos again. Guards tried to fire back, but the Draxel moved with impossible speed, dodging between them, using his mechanical arm as a shield.
Evan looked at Lyra. You need to get to safety.
But Lyra shook her head hard.
No. We finish this together. Our bond means nothing if we run.
Her voice held bravery he didn't expect from someone so small. Something inside Evan shifted. She wasn't just trying to save him, she believed in him.
And he couldn't let her down.
The chase across the great hall. The Draxel jumped onto a pillar and fired again. Stone shattered, dust flying. Evan pushed Lyra behind another pillar and scanned the room. He spotted something, a fallen guard's stun staff.
He sprinted for it.
The Draxel fired again, barely missing him. The heat of the beam brushed his shoulder. Evan grabbed the staff, rolled on the floor, and came up in a defensive stance.
The Draxel laughed. You think a stick can save you? Evan didn't answer.
He charged. The Draxel swung his metal arm. Evan ducked and hit the mechanical limb with the stun staff. The blue electricity crackled across the metal.
The Draxel roared, sparks flying from the elbow joint.
For the first time, he looked angry and afraid.
Lyra climbed onto a broken pillar behind the Draxel.
Her small hands glowed bright green with Raleigh energy, healing energy, life energy. She pressed both palms on the floor. A wave of green light rippled outward.
The stone under the Draxel's feet softened and cracked.
He stumbled, losing balance for a moment.
Evan seized the chance. He swung the stun staff at the Draxel's chest.
The electricity hit hard.
The Draxel fell backward, slamming into the floor with a crash.
The hall went silent.
Thousands of eyes stared. Nobody dared move. Lyra jumped down and stood beside Evan.
He placed a hand on her shoulder, steady, grateful. Together, they turned to the council.
The truth finally exposed.
The chief counselor rose slowly. His usual cold expression was gone. Now, he looked ashamed. Evan spoke clearly so all could hear. Your station was destroyed by this man.
Not by humans. Not by me. And your own council database held proof.
Lyra lifted the hologram device again.
Someone inside tried to hide the truth. Someone wanted war.
The hall erupted into angry murmurs.
Council guards dragged the stunned Draxel away.
He struggled weakly, shouting curses, but the council silenced him.
The female counselor with the cold voice stood.
We owe humanity, and you, Evan Reed, a great apology.
Evan didn't care about apologies.
He cared about the lives lost, about nearly being executed for something he didn't do.
But he also cared about the small alien girl beside him, glowing with relief.
The chief counselor struck the floor with his staff.
Let it be known, Evan Reed is innocent. Cheers erupted.
Different voices, different species, all shouting together. For the first time, they weren't looking at him with fear. They were looking at him with respect.
HFY humanity, F*****, yeah. The moment humans earned their place in the galaxy. A new beginning. Lyra tugged Evan's sleeve.
So, does this mean you accept the bond? She whispered shyly.
Evan smiled softly. I guess saving each other counts as a real marriage, huh? Lyra's face turned bright green, a rally sign of joy. The hall laughed warmly.
For the first time, Evan felt something strange, something peaceful.
He wasn't alone in the galaxy anymore. He had an ally. He had a partner. He had a future.